Will I like it? Will I hate it? Let's find out with Nat at the movies. Hello once again everyone and welcome back. My name is Nattie. And this is Nat at the Movies, where I take a look at a random movie, often with the help of a friend, and I give my thoughts on it. In fact, I am indeed joined by a friend this day. Well, friend, do introduce yourself.
Hello, Reynard here.
And we both watched a film today, didn't we, Reynard?
Yeah, you could call that a film.
It was filmed on film. We watched Birth of a Nation, also originally called The Klansman. As if that gives away anything about the film whatsoever if you've never heard of it.
Yeah.
As we all know, Birth of a Nation is a landmark in film history, lauded for its technical virtuosity. It was the first American 12-reel film ever made, and at 3 hours also the longest up to that point.
Interesting.
As for landmark of film history and lauded for its technical virtuosity, sure, I guess that's what we have to call this.
Well, one must. I won't say anticipating. Well, you know that. But anticipating watching the film and such. But
Nor was I, but it had to be watched at some point. That way we can at least say we watched it, and if anybody decides to bring up certain things about the film, we'll be able to tell them with quite certainty of what we had seen and what was portrayed.
We watched it. Yes. See right there. Oh, the cost of wisdom.
Its plot is part fiction and part history, so it says. It does chronicle the assassination of Abraham Lincoln by John Wilkes Booth, which the film never actually tells why Booth murdered him, and the fact that Booth was a Southern sympathizer who was murdering Lincoln to save the South, but, let's skip that over a little bit in this pro-Southern movie, which at the beginning of the film states that it is not biased or whatever in any way. Sure. And then they give quotes by Woodrow Wilson. Very select quotes at that.
Yes. What you don't normally see in the brief sections in history books. It's like rather telling, rather interesting. The thing that guy got, D.W. Griffith got to premiere the movie in the White House with the president was like
the first motion picture to be screened inside the White House at that.
Wow.
Also, it was the first American-made film to have a musical score for an orchestra. And also, it was originally shown in 2 parts separated by an intermission. We didn't really have an intermission there.
No, they ran this one straight through.
Yeah, we just went right through it. To our detriment.
Well, as you pointed out, we can now speak from knowledge and personal observation, unbiased in a different way from the D.W. Griffith, property D.W. Griffith. Everything here is D.W. Griffith every other frame.
Like, seriously, every other frame really did just have D.W. Griffith's name, or is that as if we're going to forget that it was made by him?
A form of trademark watermarking or something, or it's like in his like, this is me, this is mine. A very modest man.
Very. That's the word we use, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Also, that battle sequence, I know we're kind of jumping all around in the film, but that battle sequence, it was so drawn out and boring. How do you make a battle scene boring? It's supposed to be action.
Oh my god, I loved it when you said that. That's right. That's a good way to put it, because I'm looking at it. It's like the guys are literally dancing around with the flags and waving them. And it's like the one guy on the one side there, or the other side, he was just dancing around waving a sword. It's like, what are you, a pirate? It's like, hey, please, guys, somebody think, just get rid of the flags. One flag. We've been fighting all day. We already know who's them and us. So give these guys some guns. That'll help. Because there are a lot of people. There's a high percentage of people with flags. I'll say it, more than I'm used to seeing in a war film or many descriptions. Anybody I've ever known who's actually been in combat. Flags I never saw. In the old days. I mean, not necessarily Civil War, but. Like, yeah,
all that served to do with these giant flags in that battlefield there was to give your position away, which I'm sure they've been seeing for numerous hours at this point, firing at you so you can put the flag away, guys.
Absolutely. The only way I could get through was just taking it, I won't say humorous, but just not treating it serious. And it's like, that makes it easy. It's still nasty to digest, but at least you can get it down. One sitting.
Yeah, it made it a lot better to watch this with someone else, especially one who would keep riffing on it as we were watching. That made it so much better.
And it didn't take any effort. That's the thing. It's like you're just handing this to us on a platter. I didn't even have to pick and choose. I could just we're just like, oh, ow, there you go. There's a funny weird thing going on with that one. It's like, this is not. And how many flags did you? How many? Going by the flag, how many states did the Union have at that point in the Civil War?
By that point, it was definitely not the full thing of stars that it showed. It was also not in that pattern at that time, at least by the battle that was displayed, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, it actually looked heavy. It looked like that guy's got a star. That's a big flag of stars on there. It just because it didn't fit with my memories of Civil War films or documentaries or and it's like that's a blatant thing. I mean, I don't care if the uniform badge.
There's so many historical inaccuracies with this film that we kept noting. Oh, I mean, boy,
great inaccuracies above and beyond the basic lies, which is or let's see, I shouldn't say lies, incompatibilities with reality. I could go on to a few more descriptive words, but that's enough to get it apart. We'll wait till the sequel, the Afterbirth of a Nation, and then we'll add the yeah. I'm surprised no one done it.
The film came with a 13-page souvenir program. I came to a movie to watch it, not to read.
Yeah.
If we were coming to read, we would have just read the novel it was based off of.
Yeah. Quote, novel, not historical document. Oh, my God. We don't have an agenda or a bias, despite this little questionable quotes from the president at the time, in the beginning. But here, I'll have somebody help you carry this to the car. This little, you don't publish things like that for a movie, just a plain old entertaining movie or enlightening movie. There's definitely some idiot's agenda going on there.
What do we possibly talk about it right now, Karl?
It's over.
You got a point.
Hey, we were looking forward to doing it. Yeah, well, yeah, that's about it. Oh my goodness.
We've been putting off watching this for so long.
Should we tell them the other two films, or should we surprise them that we're somehow tied in with our resistance to watch?
I think we'll leave that one for the future.
Yes, small doses, my friend.
We're not just going to lump these all together. No. We're going to
I don't. I
keep it
couldn't
up.
watch. I could watch them. I could watch them. Something.
We're in a particular mood for it.
Yeah. Well, I must say, certainly no. Well, I can't say I was going to say no surprises in some ways.
Seriously, so much of what we had watched of the film, we already knew what would happen, even though we've never watched it before. We knew exactly the kind of movie this would be. All our assumptions ended up exactly correct.
Well, let's not say assumptions. Let's say our guesses from observations. Things we didn't have a prejudiced view looking into it. We just had some ideas, and anything negative or questionable, we were quite surprised. They managed to outdo anything worse than we could have thought of. What am I saying? Yeah. Anything bad I could have predicted or thought about it, they topped it.
It was also really odd that Lincoln was portrayed positively.
Yeah, you pointed that out, and that was a bit puzzling. The only thing I can guess, given everything else in the film, they we can't make Lincoln, the great President Lincoln, who was only a few years ago, basically, look bad. Well, we can make everyone around him look like buffoons and bad and dishonorable soldiers. The Confederate who crawls over the fence and gives water to the dying Union soldier. And then they go back to battle. And of course, the Union people don't seem to reciprocate. So they were gentlemanly. Yeah, my arse. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's okay.
Like, it's odd that the film portrays, the whole lost cause narrative and portrays Lincoln positively when the lost cause ideology and all that is often portraying Lincoln as a villain and also an imbecile.
Well, I think
he was an incapable president and all this.
Oh, you're right. But the only thing I can think is they just didn't have the balls, or they didn't want to really piss off the wrong market by, making him look like a total villain. But they could make his staff look like either incompetent or villains or criminals. They could get away with that pretty much because, ask anyone who's Seward. Do you know any of those other half dozen people we'd see in the room? These historical, no, but they know Lincoln, so they had to be careful with him. That's the best I can think of, and unless you come up with think something else maybe. But I agree with you; it was kind of puzzling.
And like I said, a lot of the people who think that way, they worship John Wilkes Booth for offing a tyrant, as it were. Booth is considered a hero to the Lost Cause people.
Yeah.
And in the film, they just made it seem like Booth just wanted to shoot him for literally no reason. They gave him no motive. They were like, he just wanted to go shoot him. He had no connection to us. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, he was just hanging out and
today I think it's a great day to go murdering a president.
Yeah.
Yes. Seriously, there was no motive built up for it. At least in the film. We obviously know his motive, but the film itself didn't touch it.
Correct. It's it was just he was a necessary character. They didn't even bother, which does I agree with that. I was kind of surprised. They didn't give any story at all.
And that one scene of Lee and Grant, shaking hands and the thing, Grant does not look like Grant in the slightest. The dude they got to do Lincoln, at least from afar, looked like Lincoln. The guy who did Robert E. Lee literally has a last name called Gay, by the way. He they portrayed him as looking sad during the handshake, and then Grant looking all cocky and confident over there on the other side doing the handshake. Even though Lee knew he was defeated, and this is going off of historical, actual record at least, and they try to, be brotherly at that meeting.
Yeah, I can't even phrase it in words. It's like, these are weird ideas I saw. There's a lot of puzzling stuff in that film. For what it was made up to be, as you've mentioned by some people, it's like, not a great production on a lot of ways. It's just you have like, what was it? There's some show, and like the guy says, you got to really want it. It's make a cohesion and say there's a classic film and all these. It's like, no, bollocks, nonsense. It was a film based on I'm sure it was a biased novel. Novel, mind you. They do say it's a novel.
It's not a historical document or seriously. There's so many people that believe this film to be just a documentary of how life truly was. It wasn't.
No,
not even close.
Well, I noticed I agree with you. You pointed out that the animals are some of the better actors. I laughed when you said that. It's like, you're right. She's right. I know.
Yeah, all the animals were the best actors of the film. And they didn't even get financially compensated for it. And that poor squirrel. And also that one dog that just looked like they got strangulated in one scene for whatever reason as a background thing going on, and see what was going on there.
Oh, in case you didn't believe or fall for the defending of the frail innocent flower of Southern womanhood, then screw it. There's a cute doggy getting attacked by these people. That'll get the other crowd. They didn't have Facebook back then, but that was the thing. It's like, we can't get him with that. We can get him with a cute animal being hurt. That's my thought.
There's just so many inaccuracies with this film.
Don't forget the demon squirrel who was talking to that possessed girl. Or am I getting ahead of myself? Okay, there were some things I remember about the film that were interesting.
I think it's time to address the elephant in the room, though, Karl.
Which one?
Plaid outfits are a curse.
I was going to let you have that one, and I forgot for a moment. You nailed it. The plaid dress started the conflict, came back, led up to the obligatory almost rape scene, and then every time you saw somebody wearing some sort of plaid, didn't have to be the dress, could be some guy in plaid, something bad happened.
Never wear plaid, people.
No.
Especially in a D.W. Griffith film. Made by D.W. Griffith's company.
Yes. Yes, he was afraid someone was going to steal the movie and put it out as their own. Well, okay.
No, this is definitely Steven Spielberg's Birth of a Nation. But yes, the other elephant in the room. The film was controversial even before its release and has remained so ever since. It has been called the most controversial film ever made in the United States and the most reprehensibly racist film in Hollywood history.
I can go with that last part in particular. But, hey, it's a lot of films. Yeah.
The film has been denounced for its racist depiction of African Americans. What, really? What racist depictions of African Americans could there possibly be?
No, there was that Hollywood race of white people who had that black makeup on. There was so much blackface, and as you pointed out, that one woman, played the big, happy, friendly, faithful black servant woman. The scenes where she went to like wipe her eyes, or that one scene where it looked like ice, and I was kidding with you. It's like she's saying, basically, forget this. I can't wear this crap anymore, and picked up the apron thing to wipe it off, and the camera cut right then. So it's like, did you get something in your eyes? It's
Yeah,
like,
she kept doing it throughout the film. Like, at one point, she wipes her mouth and you can see the makeup has
oh
come
my God.
off. And then later, she tries to go to wipe her eyes, but then she stops because she's like, that will get rid of the makeup. And at one point, she just like lets up her skirt and just tries to wipe her face, and that's when the camera cuts.
Yeah, that one I was talking about. Yeah, it's just like that was a moment that, it's like that was not scripted. There's no reason she would do something like that other than to get the shit out of her eyes as she walked out.
I like how you tried to be careful with the cussing, and then you just did it
But
there.
at the point, it's like, there was a lot of blackface. But as you pointed out, that she did a lot of blackface, or did
Yeah,
more
I
back
looked at her other filmography. She's done a lot of it. It's like, huh? This is what you made a career out of?
I mean, it goes on about, you go Al Jolson, and it was men that you would usually see in the films or recognize in blackface. You don't see or not aware of a lot of women known for that. And she did. It wasn't her just doing one or two films. You said she did a number of films when that's like, oh, grandpa. No, not grandpa. Grandma was doing blackface in the films. Oh, that's another dimension I could have lived without. But and all the bad people or the prominent people were white actors in particularly bad blackface, as if there can be a good blackface. But I mean,
That's
this
just
is
what I was
like,
about to say.
it's like, dude, apart from even with the light and the angles on the dark, the blackface makeup, you're European descent, obviously, but the white lips on some of not all of them, but a number of them had the white. It's like you make it look like Got Milk commercial or something. This is and I pointed out that one of the earlier fight scenes where the white this is a good way or non-repetitive way, white face actors, whatever, actors in blackface. Anyway, they that one guy looked like I was kidding, but it looked like he had his hat on when they put the makeup on, and he'd lost his hat. There was so much. I've never seen that much in a film. I mean, I've seen where one or two, maybe three tops black, or the black actors or characters at some point, or in the white guys in blackface. But that movie, the only time there were black people were when they were in a derogatory portrayal, like in the government scenes, in the courtroom, or that was just so horrifically done. That was terrible. It's like you people realize that this is not a factual representation. No, apparently not.
And remember, they would go on about how there was so many of them that the helpless white minority had nothing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's just so many things we don't even need to mention. Everyone just knows that's just not how things. Oh boy, that's just not how things go. This film is racist. It very much is. And no matter how many times the film kept trying to say, it has no biases, then literally quotes Woodrow Wilson a second later, talking about very particular things. Like, no matter how much the film tries to portray itself as not racist or whatever else, it is. Watch the film. Watch what is actually portrayed on screen. It's racist.
I mean, gross exaggerations of stereotypical behavior, negative stereotypical behavior. It's like, no, we have no bias. However, here's a bunch of racist, really illogical, unmodern comments or quotes from the president, to start our film. But don't pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Or as you said, what curtain? It's like, we're right out, the guy's right out in the open. How can we not pay attention to him? Unfortunately, apparently there's a lot of people who say, oh, the emperor has nice new clothes on. I can see that.
There is nothing to defend about this film. There is nothing really positive to take away from it. It is pretty much nothing but negative.
And there's nothing that a rational, mature, civilized, reasonably educated person could not figure out, either do their own research, like read books and, check, real things out, how you could believe that was, they treat it like it's a historical documentary. And oh God, there's now it's coming back to me. Get it out of my head. I don't want to see it. There's the one scene towards the end where you had all these historical things going on. They had a picture of Jesus on there. I saw it at the end. They're trying to tie into somebody here. Even Jesus liked the film, as well as the president. What can I say?
So the film portrays the African Americans of the film, many who were portrayed by white actors in blackface, obviously. They were portrayed as unintelligent and sexually aggressive towards white women.
Of course.
If we had to explain why that is incorrect and wrong and all that, then and there's no help for you. As for the Klan being portrayed as a heroic force necessary to preserve American values, protect white women, and maintain white supremacy. Again, if we have to explain why the Klan is evil, there is no help for you at this point.
They had cool costumes, though. It was kind of like, that one of those really under-budgeted Doctor Who's from the 50s, 60s, somewhere beneath the Cybermen, in those really cheap costumes. Because you had the guys with toilet plungers on the heads, and then they finally got some with the traffic cones. So,
I called it the dunce cab, but okay, traffic cone works.
Right. Yeah, even better. That's even more accurate. Yeah. But the other ones, at first it's like, those kind of look like, those old German spike, those little spike helmets or pickelhaubes. And it's like, no, that's more like a Turkish helmet with that long spike. Hey, that's kind of cool. And then it's like, you start to see a bunch of them. It's like, no, those are toilet plungers on their heads. They look like toilet plungers on their heads. It's like, this is a bad, low-budget episode of an obscure 1960s Doctor Who or something. Look at the bad, there's the monsters.
And there's so much things this film portrays that, especially certain presidency synths, have pretty much cloned exact moments out of the film.
Well, there were a few things, yeah. I'll have to give you that.
Also, this film was popular among white audiences nationwide at the time. The film's success was both a consequence of and a contributor to racial segregation throughout the United States. In response to the film's depictions of black people in Civil War history, African Americans across the United States organized and protested. Back in 1915, this is not a recent thing, people. In Boston and other localities, black leaders in the NAACP spearheaded an unsuccessful campaign to have it banned on the basis that it inflamed racial tensions and could incite violence. Griffith's indignation at efforts to censor or ban the film motivated him to produce Intolerance the following year. As a film we're never watching. We're never watching another D.W. Griffith film.
Oh, you make it sound like a bad thing.
In spite of its divisiveness, The Birth of a Nation was a huge commercial success across the nation, grossing more than any previous motion picture and profoundly influenced both the film industry and American culture. The film has been acknowledged as an inspiration for the rebirth of the Klan, which took place only a few months after its release. Yeah, the film definitely did that.
Yeah, there's a lot wrong with that.
By the way, I want you to guess the day that D.W. Griffith began filming this movie.
Oh, goodness. I could never guess that.
July 4th, 1914. The most patriotic day. Which, by the way, it's odd that the Klan is viewed as defenders of American values as they literally go after the actual American Army members.
Yeah,
and the members of the actual United States military.
You talking about the movie or the thing like 100 and so years? Oh, you're talking about the movie still. Yeah, that shit happens still. That stuff happens too. It still happens.
Oh, I know it still happens.
Yeah. So it was kind of a prophetic movie, or they just got an old script they're walking around. We don't have to come up with anything new. Hey, I like this. It's crude. It's primitive.
So many double standard things go on as well. When one side does something, it's evil. But when the Klan does it, it's fine. They're being heroic in defending American honor and freedom and blah, 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 blah. Which, how are they doing American freedom and all that if they were literally fighting on the side of the Confederacy during the Civil War? The Confederacy were not Americans. They were killing Americans. Yep. They wanted to succeed and make their own nation. That means you're not an American. You are your own nation. But suddenly you want to forget that. You succeeded from the United States of America.
Oh, I'm losing. Oh, I'm sorry. I give up. Yeah, let's be buddies. Wow. Gee, they're bombing and burning our cities. But, oh, wait a minute. You were doing it to other people. That was different. That was years ago. Yeah, I have a tendency to not really, think that, people who start something bad and then all of a sudden they lose. It's like nothing's their fault. It's not their fault. They had a good cause. They were betrayed. They're the poor put upon. They're picking on me. Like, oh yeah, I've seen that growing up. Every time a big old bully finally gets taken down by somebody half their size, all of a sudden they're the ones that are expecting sympathy and being put upon.
And remember that there's a famous part of the film that was added by Griffith only on the second run of the film and is missing from most online versions of the film, presumably taken from first-run prints. These are the second and third of the 3 opening title cards which defend the film. The added titles read, "A plea for the arts of the motion picture. We do not fear censorship, for we have no wish to offend with improprieties or obscenities, but we do demand as a right the liberty to show the dark side of wrong, that we may illuminate the bright side of virtue, the same liberty that is conceded to the art of the written word, that art to which we owe the Bible and the works of Shakespeare," which they were trying to essentially equate the works of Shakespeare to the Bible. For one, that is as I'm sure certain Christians would point out, that's not a good thing to do. And then secondly, you're trying to equate the Bible and Shakespeare to this. How, what's the word, Karl? What's the word?
Oh, there's
pretentious. How pretentious are you?
Beyond that. Yeah, it goes beyond pretensions. Yes. Just a little bit.
And so another is, if in this work we have conveyed to the mind the ravages of war to the end that war may be held in abhorrence, this effort will not have been in vain. Wait a minute. This is supposed to be an anti-war movie, but you literally applaud the act or acts of the Klan to basically terrorize the black populace of the South by basically going to war against them.
Yeah, free hand.
The film seems to be missing its own point.
Yeah, I mean, and they went way out of. It wasn't just the occasional, or some of the black or so-called black people, supposedly black people, how their behavior was, because there's good and bad in all kinds. There's different ratios sometimes, so it's another matter. But every one of them, except for the one faithful servant, yeah, the old white lady who played black ladies, she was one of the two faithful servants. She wasn't like all those other bad ones. Yes. Let me see. Yeah, that was just. Yeah, if that's without bias, please explain that to me, people. I don't get it.
And in that point where there's the Union soldiers held up in a cabin randomly with a little girl for some reason, I don't think we want to know. But two grown-ass men at that, by the way. And they just have a random girl with a little girl with them. Like, I don't know why or whatever. But anyhow, that part where they basically literally state very certain things where the North and the South can unite and with the fellowship of their fellow certain brethren. Like, yeah, this film is not racist, you say. The film keeps trying to say that it's not racist. Sure, that's the word we use, yes.
But it's interesting how they show that the North and the South, the gentlemen from the North and the South they can now be brothers in a common cause against the black people. But since you let them all go, I guess yeah.
Which, by the way, I think they only added that bit that way the audiences that were outside the South would at least have that going for them, and so they'd be encouraged like that. Go ahead.
Kind of to identify, yeah, something they could identify with. Plus, it's like, oh, they showed that Lincoln was a nice guy too. They didn't criticize him, and and we can be brothers against the common enemy of equality.
There's so many things it leaves out that would just destroy its entire point. That if they were to show actual history, their entire narrative that they're trying to build would just collapse underneath them.
I thought there's a lot more intellectual stuff into the film from the way people carried on about it. It's like, no, this is stuff I've seen some years recently. Just appeal to people's lowest common denominator as far as selling your product through fear, exaggerated, distorted. Oh my goodness, that's so familiar. There's a lot of people buy a lot of stuff that normally you don't buy a lot of, to protect yourself. That sort of marketing. Yeah. We're not biased, but here's our 14-page pamphlet to go with it. You have to take it with you, folks.
And like I mentioned a lot of people say things like Gone with the Wind or this film or whatever has only been viewed in such a critical light recently. It's always been viewed that way. It's always been protested by the same people that are protesting it today. It always has been. You just chose to ignore that.
That's it, but nobody would pay attention or acknowledge it. You're right. You're right.
These sorts of protests have always been going on because these films were always wrong. It is not a recent come to Jesus moment where everyone's like, oh wow, this movie's really terrible. No, it has always been terrible.
Right. It's just people are finally speaking up about it, and they're not going on talking about the Emperor's wonderful new clothes.
But yes, as if we needed to add to the large mountains of evidence that this film is terrible, we do believe it is terrible, or at least I do. What do you think, Reynard?
Oh, well, I really have to think. I would say dog vomit. However, dog vomit at least has some, redeeming features. Anyway, no, it's like, wow, this persuaded so many people about things that were not true, with gross distortions, and made a cause out of it. And it's like, I thought it'd be more intellectual or artistic effort. It's like, shoot, you just threw a bucket of it out there and they just all dove in, telling you how good it was. It was okay for a movie if they just hadn't gone. They could have actually made a tolerable film. But there was an agenda. It may not have been a bias, but there was certainly a damn agenda, I'll tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, I won't do anything wrong. Relax. Things like that. At the start of a conversation or start of it's like, we're starting this movie out telling that we're not, anything that you think we mean bad is not bad. You're thinking wrong. Like, quite a disclaimer. To be honest, I think after the first, I think by the time they got the introduction or the intros done, it's like, even you pointed out, I think first, it's like, I think we pretty much know what's going to happen, what's going on after this. And we were pretty unmarked. The only time we were off mark was when they were extremely what we thought shouldn't happen. Yeah. It's like, you surprised us. You are bad.
By the way, there was a sequel to this film. It was The Fall of a Nation, and it was released in 1916, depicting the invasion of the United States by a German-led confederation of European monarchies, criticizing the pacifism in the context of the First World War. So this film, Birth of a Nation, is supposed to be anti-war, but then his sequel is about America just, sitting on its ass. Hey, you should do a war.
Yeah.
It was the first feature-length sequel in film history, by the way. Go ahead.
Wow.
The film was directed by Thomas Dixon Jr., who adapted it from his novel of the same name. Despite its success in the foreign market, the film was not a success among American audiences, and it is now a lost film, meaning we never have to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, start. Yeah.
You're funny. And then there was a 1918 American silent drama film directed by John W. Noble called Birth of a Race, which was meant to discredit the negative stereotypes perpetrated in the original Birth of a Nation.
Oh! I wonder if I heard a reference to that. I know there was some... I heard a few references years ago. Oh, go ahead and enlighten me. This is... Finally got it out of the system. Well, in the system and definitely out of the system.
The film was an ambitious project by producer Emmett J. Scott to challenge Griffith's film into another side of the story, but was ultimately unsuccessful. And go ahead.
I believe I did hear a reference to that some years ago when the diversity things. Wow.
It was finally released in December of 1918 following the end of World War I. Birth of a Race was a 2-hour feature-length film portraying the achievements of black people through history. That actually sounds like an interesting movie.
It would be, wouldn't it?
I wonder if it's even available at all.
That'd be interesting to watch sometime.
Also, because it was a war film, it suffered at the box office due to its release just weeks after the end of World War I. Audiences were no longer interested in seeing a war film, so it said. I love how there's a photo of the production of the film, and it just states, filming on an Egyptian set in Tampa, Florida, 1918. There's so many things that could be said there. Like,
wow.
Yeah, okay.
Now there's an interesting point.
Yeah, I'll show you that after we finish up here, but that's interesting. But yeah, that sounds like an interesting film if we're able to find it.
Yeah.
I cannot guarantee we'll find it, but yeah. It'll probably be better than this. I don't know what it will actually portray or if it will be a good or not, but we'll have to find out one day. I think we need a little bit of a break from the certain film we just watched.
I agree.
But yeah, 1920 African-American filmmaker Oscar Michaud, I think. I'm probably going to be mispronouncing that, so sorry about that. But yeah, he released Within Our Gates, a response to Birth of a Nation. Within Our Gates depicts the hardships faced by African Americans during the era of the Jim Crow laws. Now that sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
It covers Jim Crow, the revival of the Klan, Great Migration, etc., etc. That actually sounds interesting. Like, I'm kind of really interested in seeing that. Especially 1920, if the footage is even visible still, that sounds like it'll be interesting. Like 1920, seeing what they themselves are depicting of their own history and whatnot. Instead of, random white person, oh yeah, I'm going to direct this film about black history because I think it's a worthy cause. No, this will be actually done by them and not, through a narrative lens of a white man. Trying to get little brownie points.
Really?
Quentin Tarantino said he made his film Django Unchained to counter the falsehoods of Birth of a Nation, by the way.
Huh.
Wasn't that film, really controversial?
I think so, yeah.
I think it got banned in China for showing the color red for some reason.
There was something that a lot of films, especially by major studios who are aware and have had a long European or Asian market, or let's say world market for their films, have learned to change a lot of things to be culturally sensitive, either to not get banned or get in trouble, or just to fit in or show something one culture might take for granted to understand to another culture that doesn't. And I've seen where they've changed colors because certain colors, as you pointed out, are either bad luck, politically, touchy, or different little, even foods. Sometimes certain foods. It's interesting.
Well, what are your final thoughts on Birth of a Nation?
Oh, well, we both watched it with the idea of watching it as, say, if we were an art student, theater student, whatnot, for technical things, historical perspective, and that way, if there's ever discussion with somebody who treats it like it's some sort of historical documentary, I can say, no, I didn't hear this. I didn't see this on some political post of people you don't like. It's like I watched the flipping film from start to finish. I know what I saw. I know what I heard. My brain, which thankfully I've had enough schooling at decent schools across the country growing up. Yeah, the film's full of bollocks. A load of bollocks. It's a lot of lies badly portrayed, and how anybody could treat it as if it was a documentary or a historical thing to cling to is mind-boggling. The obviously derogatory, intentionally derogatory depictions of the blacks and African Americans in that film was just horrendous and it was just horrendously bad. If you had to put one or two little things in here and there, but no, everything was done to portray them as a bumbling, incapable, uncivilized mass, primitives, and that was so far from the realities. That's a heinous presentation. I have never seen in any of the old films I've watched that many people in blackface, for one thing. And it was historical inaccuracies. There were, obviously historical inaccuracies, irrelevances, and such made-up nonsense to scare people and to get you into that, historical, wonderful, wonderful culture was taken down by primitives and slaves and the Union just letting it happen. Like, no. That was one of the most horrible stories ever. Most horrible historical, quote, historical films ever. Not just how it was presented, what they did, but the overall cost to society and humanity from it, for people who watched it, fed themselves with the hatred and ignorance that they wanted, things like that. That was a costly film.
Indeed. Definitely a propagandistic film. As if you could say it ever wasn't.
They told us it was unbiased, so yeah, it's confusing.
The film says it's unbiased, but it is very clearly a propagandistic and racist film. By the way, Griffith tried to defend the white actors in blackface initially. He initially claimed that it was deliberate, stating, "On careful weighing of every detail concerned, the decision was to have no black blood amongst the principals. It was only in the legislative scene that certain words were used, and then only as extra people." That's a direct quote from him himself.
Mm-hmm.
However, black extras who had been housed in segregated quarters, including Griffith's acquaintance and frequent collaborator, Madame Sultewan, can be seen in many other shots of the film.
Wow.
Yeah, I actually remember. I see the photo of her. It's like, yeah, I remember her in one scene. Wow. Wow. But yes, as if it was any surprise, I do not like the film. It is terrible and should never be watched by anyone ever again. It has no real, anything that would make you need to watch it for whatever purpose. It has no merit.
Very good word. I was trying to think of a word that, there's nothing useful. Socially, historically, documentarily, there's nothing useful. The few historical things that they actually referred to were, distorted or just handpicked for their points, and then the fear mongering. Ooh, plus the poor pity me. Oh, we started out with something. We started this fight, but we lost. No, pity us. Very common, the bad guys, and it's a bad film, but I do feel it's done more harm to the world by its existence.
Indeed.
And they didn't even have to do a quality thing. It's like a friend of mine. Well, we were talking one time many years ago. It's like, go ahead and try and do something. Don't insult my intelligence. That's the thing. You want to talk crap to me? Okay, but don't try to insult my intelligence. You want me? No, just don't talk nonsense. I'll listen to you. Don't insult my intelligence. And that's what it is. You want to send a message to me. You want to try and make a point, whether I agree or not, in the principle. Don't patronize or just don't go for the lowest common denominator, the lowest hanging fruit, the lowest common denominator. Buy more guns and ammo because strange people are coming across the borders. I know it doesn't happen. You don't see it, but we're telling you that. So buy our product. Selling your products or selling your ideas or your ideology through fear and ignorance and lies. Unfortunately, way too many people are ready to hop on, just go right into that swill. They're going to go right there and feet up. Like W.C. Fields used to say. Was it W.C. Fields? Oh, you can't cheat an honest man? Or maybe it was P.T. Barnum. But I know there's something you can't cheat an honest man. I can't sell you something you're not ready to buy. If you're ready to buy crap, if I'm selling crap and you're buying, it means you're ready to buy crap. And that's all I need to come up with to get what I want from you. And I agree. Yeah, we've watched it. We don't have to watch anything connected with this film ever again.
And we definitely don't need to see any more of D.W. Griffith of the D.W. Griffith Company ever again.
Yes. Patent protected, all rights refused.
The man made sure to have his name all over it. That kind of reminds me of someone else, but... But yeah, the film, if you could even call it that, literally has no merit. It's not something that you really should watch, no matter how much is exalted in certain circles. Is just not a film to really watch. There's nothing.
Yeah, you're not going to take anything useful. You're not going to take anything of value away from it. I mean, I've watched films. I'm sure you have. We watched probably a few together in the past. There are certain films. It's like I don't like this film. I'm uncomfortable, or I don't like the subject, how certain things are going. But you can take. It was done in a way that you can take certain either positive, either take some lessons. You can take some historical. There's something you can take from it, useful in your life or in your interpretation of other art and films. This, it's nothing. There's nothing there. Yeah, I'm not even. It's not worthy of even making an energetic, negative statement, no matter how truthful. It's like there's not enough good to justify watching it on a bad night or bad weekend when there's nothing on TV. Even one of those desperation things. It was on like now 2:00 at the AM wide awake pathetic white people's movie channel. It's like no, I wouldn't even watch it on those bad nights. We watched this as a project together, and something helped society. Trying to make it sound like it was a good thing, something to get out of it. It's like, yeah, we've learned not to watch it again.
That's the one lesson it gave.
Yeah. And it's not even like challenging a cause or anything. It's like, we're selling a shit product. Sorry. Start again.
It's
They're selling,
fine.
you're selling a shite product that nobody really, it's not healthy for them to ingest, but you're going to market it in a way that they're going to feel obligated or feel they should be buying it. And, yeah, no, not healthy for them.
Mm-hmm.
I can't generate any like an energetic like, oh, listen, I'm up in arms, but I know what they caused. They've done more damage and more harm in ways of by breeding that sort of evil thinking in certain people's minds, and the consequences we've had ever since that. It filters from people who watched it and thought it was a documentary and not, a deceptive film version of a novel. They kept saying it was taken from a novel, so that already removed a certain degree of authenticity or historical accuracy. It was a novel turned into a 3-hour movie, 3-whatever-hour movie. Oh, that's another thing we didn't point out. How long was this film now?
3 hours.
Yeah. No. That's a long time for something that wasn't. Yeah. We watched it to learn. We watched it to say, okay, we did watch it. If we ever get in a conversation with somebody in an art film or just somebody in general who believes it was a historical documentary to justify themselves and their behaviors, you and I can intellectually say, no, I watched the film. I know here's historical inaccuracies, social inaccuracies. Here's totally irrelevant, weird stuff that, no. We're done. These proceedings are concluded. Yeah, that's the best thing I can end it with. These proceedings are concluded. Yeah.
And do remember about the Wilson quotes, by the way, that Wilson issued no protest when the Evening Star, at the time Washington's newspaper of record, reported in advance of the showing, in language suggesting a press release from Dixon and Griffiths, that Dixon was a schoolmate of President Wilson and was an intimate friend, and that Wilson's interest in it is due to the great lesson of peace it teaches. Again, the film goes on about peace, but literally tries to make white people declare war on black people. Wilson,
Yeah.
and only Wilson, by the way, is quoted by name in the movie for his observations on American history, and the title of Wilson's book, History of the American People, is mentioned as well. Remember, the 3 title cards with quotations from Wilson's book were read in the film. Like the adventurers swarmed out of the north as much the enemies of one race as of the other, to cousin Beguile and use the certain word, and the villages of the certain word again were the office holders, men who knew none of the uses of authority except its insolences. The policy of the congressional leaders wrought a veritable overthrow of the civilization in the South in their determination to put the white South under the heel of the black South. Ellipses and underscore in the original title cards, by the way. The white men were roused by a mere instinct of self-preservation until at last there had sprung into existence a great Ku Klux Klan, a veritable empire of the South to protect the Southern country. Yes, Wilson was a complete bastard, and he was evil, and he was racist as shit.
Yeah. History. Indeed. Yeah. It all makes sense. Hey, President, can I come over there and show you a movie? It's not biased or anything, but I want the President of the United States to review it with me. Watch it. Sound cool? All right. Yeah. No bias, though, mind you. No bias at all. Just boys' night out. You want to watch a movie together, Prez? Yeah. I got this movie. It's like 3 fucking hours long, and it's like 3 freaking hours long. It's like it's really cool. We can just turn the lights out and we can just chill. We can just eat popcorn and stuff and just watch this long, long movie. Do I even know you? Well, it's about bad black people and the Civil War. And oh yeah, I'm in. Let's get some call, get some pizza. Let's sit down and jam. Mm-hmm. Have they invented intermissions in film yet? It's only 1915. 3 hours, 3 hours. You said 3 hours, right? You were serious, like 3 freaking hours. Like, okay, but maybe can I go to the bathroom first? And, maybe we can order some food. Yeah, I can see that. Especially in those days, that was a long time.
Yeah, especially to sit in one place and watch something. Oh, and one note about the very obvious blackface. It became even more obvious that it was just painted on the face and nowhere else when the lady had, her shoulder showing as scandalous as that was in 1915. You could see that she was still very much a white person underneath. They didn't even bother to paint that over or anything. And some of the scenes, like, they could have been cut entirely. Like, there's no point in us seeing the character walk to this random room where they did literally nothing.
Yeah.
And they cut back to them later and show they're still doing nothing. Why do we keep cutting there? This is supposed to be a wondrous film of technical innovation in film history.
What a load of bullocks.
But yes, I do believe we have concluded these proceedings.
There wasn't like a whole bunch of high intellect propaganda. It was like clumsy, dumb bullshit. Like, they're coming across the border and they're different from us, so buy more guns and stuff from me. It's like oh my goodness. You can always edit things out. It's kind of like that pillow guy, like going on to sell you stuff. Snake oil. It's not even good snake oil. Yeah. We have no bias. Oh, okay, so that changes my perspective. Oh, so all this racist, ignorant, false, anti-United States American sort of stuff. So it's not bad because you said it's not biased. So it's a good movie, I guess. I'm confused. But, Oh, dear.
It's not biased. It's not prejudiced against any race or all this and this. You keep saying that, but then clearly show a prejudice against a certain race. It really is a certain kind of way of speaking there that resembles certain recent leaders in world history.
Indeed. But they did have the ones like... neither one of them was actually black. They were in blackface. They had 2 faithful slaves, well, former slaves because of the war, so technically freed them. And they were, she like that one. She didn't like them uppity New York black people when they came from. It's like he went all the way from New York to go down there. Yeah, they have to show that there are some good ones. There's some good ones. Yes,
they're good as long as they are like, what is the word?
Submissive.
Yeah, that's one. And what's the other one?
Satisfactorily subjugated. There's another word. I think I know what you're trying to come.
Subservience or something like that?
Subservient, yeah, subservient.
That's the word. Subservient to the white man. That's when the black person is very good. But every other one is evil and vicious and want to go after your white women, so lock them up and never let them see anyone else.
Yeah, but she did manage to kill herself before she was sullied. Yes. She did the noble thing and took her own life. To die clean and pure. And I still don't understand the relationship of some of those guys. All those weird girls are like that one crazy girl. I still think this is an early demonic possession film. It's a predecessor to the Exorcist.
At the cabin scene, it was basically like a predecessor of zombie films.
That too, yeah. There were some scenes that reminded me of it too.
This film really was just like the first horror film, it seems.
Yeah.
Horror in many, many ways.
Yeah. So you had that. That girl. One girl, she acted like she was. No, she wasn't special needs. She was like she was possessed.
As you said, like touched by the Lord.
Yeah, I remember that old expression. Yeah. And then after she kills herself, then that other woman there, she starts acting out and bizarre like she did. So that's why I said that's got to be a demon in there. There's some sort of possession. Yeah, they predated a lot of films. There you go. That's where we can say that maybe they did have some social merit by somehow bizarrely transforming in people's minds to become zombie movies. They predated zombie movies. I'm sure there's a Star Wars reference in there somewhere. Oh, there you go. The Lost Cause, the Rebels, the Rebel Army. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, oh my God. No, I didn't flip and enjoy it. I laughed and made light of certain things just so that we could get through it.
Yeah. You said that as a self-defense mechanism.
Yes. It was. I think I'm learning more about my mind and my body and my mental. And it's like, that must be some sort of defense mechanism that's built in. It's like, this is going to be a horribly bad experience. I know it. I don't want to go through it, but I know it's going to happen, so I got to watch it. So make light, distance myself, put myself just one phase out of sync so I didn't take it in personally. It's like, oh, this is ludicrous. I'm only laughing because it's ludicrous, not because it's funny, but because it's ludicrous and absurd. Therefore, I feel it's all right to laugh.
Also, I know I keep dancing all around chronologically and whatnot, but the film did the same. But also, there was a showing in the Raleigh Ballroom, the Raleigh Hotel Ballroom. The next day, February 19th, 1915, Griffith and Dixon held a showing of the film in the Raleigh Hotel Ballroom, which they had hired for the occasion. Early that morning, Dixon called on a North Carolina friend, the white supremacist Josephus Daniels. You can't not be a white supremacist with that name. Like, you're either from the South or you're a white supremacist, or both. Because you don't hear Josephus anywhere else.
Yeah, there's certain names that, no. They kind of went out of style with most civilized folk many centuries ago.
Secretary of the Navy Daniels set up a meeting that morning for Dixon and Edward Douglas White, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Initially, Justice White was not interested in seeing the film, but when Dixon told him it was a true story of Reconstruction and the Klan's role in saving the South, White, recalling his youth in Louisiana, jumped to attention and said, "I was a member of the Klan, sir." Oh, boy. With White agreeing to see the film, the rest of the Supreme Court followed. In addition to the entire Supreme Court, in the audience were many members of Congress and members of the diplomatic corps, the Secretary of the Navy, 38 members of the Senate, and about 50 members of the House of Representatives. The audience of 600 cheered and applauded throughout.
Huh.
That is the historical record of that.
Wow.
And, by the way, consequences afterwards. In Griffith's words, the showings to the President and the entire Supreme Court conferred an honor upon Birth of a Nation. Dixon and Griffith used this commercially. Oh boy, that's the kind of people they are. They really are just pieces of trash, through and through. The following day, Griffith and Dixon transported the film to New York City to get it reviewed by the National Board of Censorship. They presented the film as endorsed by the president and the cream of Washington society. The board approved the film 15-8. Go ahead.
I said, well, no pressure there.
A warrant to close the theater in which the movie was to open was dismissed after a long-distance call to the White House confirmed the film had been shown. Imagine it being able to just directly call the White House. Yo, bro, did you watch this film?
Yeah.
Justice White was very angry when advertising for the film stated that he approved it, and he threatened to denounce it publicly. How about you just denounce it publicly?
Yeah. I was thinking about doing this maybe if I got around to it, but I was there thinking about it. Yeah, don't tell us how. Yeah, because I've seen that sort of stuff. I was going to do this. Well, we're going to do, and I'm not just talking people things, but I mean, in political situations in the past. Like, I was going to say something. Well, how about you just did it? That would, like you said, that would have been. Whew, that might have helped a lot.
By the way, go ahead.
No, I said I meant to do that. I was going to. I almost did now. Sorry, go ahead.
Dixon, a racist and white supremacist, clearly was rattled and upset by the criticism by African Americans that the movie encouraged hatred against them, and he wanted the endorsement of as many powerful men as possible to offset such criticism. So that's why they started going to Washington Society and all that. I see how he works. These two people are just the absolute pieces of trash through and through.
Mm-hmm.
Dixon always vehemently denied having anti-black prejudices, despite the way his books promoted white supremacy, and stated, "My books are hard reading for a insert word here, and yet the insert word here. In denouncing them, I unwittingly denouncing one of their greatest friends." You're literally known as a racist and white supremacist, dude. And a member of the Klan. Anyway. In a letter sent May 1st, 1915, go ahead.
No bias, though.
No bias. In a letter May 1st, 1915 to Joseph P. Tumulty, Wilson's secretary, Dixon wrote, "The real purpose of my film was to revolutionize Northern sentiments by presentation of history that would transform every man in the audience into a good Democrat. Every man who comes out to the theater is a Southern partisan for life. So it is a propaganda film that implies a bias." Wow, this dude. In a letter to President Wilson sent on 5th of September 1915, Dixon boasted, "This play is transforming the entire population of the North and the West into sympathetic Southern voters. There will never be an issue of your segregation policy." Dixon was alluding to the fact that Wilson, upon becoming president in 1913, had allowed cabinet members to impose segregation on federal workplaces in Washington, D.C. by reducing the number of black employees through demotion or dismissal.
Well, at least didn't have to wear a yellow star on his shirt. Not much better, no. That's pretty dirty, but yeah. That is really dirty.
So, yes, D.W. Griffith and Thomas Dixon Jr., fuck both of y'all. Y'all are absolute pieces of trash with nothing of merit to contribute to society or film history other than being absolute pieces of trash. And your work should be laughed out of any reputable hall that they are ever shown in. Ever again. There. That's my final words on this.
Go.
And now I suppose you should say your farewells then, Karl.
Yeah. Well, we did it. So we are enlightened. We're not just speaking ill of something we don't know about through bias. Or out of bias. No. Well, we did it. A lot of it's what I rather expected. And they outdid themselves in some of my slight negative expectations. But basically, I've seen other war films and films about things like that at least had some sort of positive statement or some. This is just like, there's nothing good. If you took the false, the vile distortions out of it, it would be a lot less than 3 hours, let's say. Don't take out all the lies, but just take the visual and character malignant distorted stereotypes and get those out of there, and then tell me what kind of a film you have, because that's something I never thought about much, but I think I've taken it from watching films. So I can think your speech, your film, your presentation, how much is useful factual information to work with, how much is you redirecting me, how much of it is just nonsense, or you slopping paint on this thing so I see a different color than it actually is. And that's the sort of takeaway I get from that.
Very well stated.
Thank you. You're going to have to play that back to me someday. I did? Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. I did. Yeah, well, good. Good. That's the last statement I can make on the film. Oh, dear.
Well, I think we've both made pretty much all the statements we can make of this film.
Otherwise, it would be just basically going over, here's a scene where A, B, C, and D, things that are negative or incorrect, happen. Here's another scene where A, B, C, or C, D. It's like, we basically made the point. It's the observation. The general spirit is there. It's like, it's all crap. It's badly packaged. It's a spoilt, rotten packet or product that's they're trying to package up and merchandise and tell you why you really need to buy this piece of garbage. And a 14-page packet to go with it.
13.
13? Oh, wow. Yeah, see, it's an unlucky number. You just lost a page. Yeah, but no. I can't even... They're not even putting... There's not enough there to actually even, like... I want to fight you on this. You are so... It's like I don't even have to make an effort. I could almost call this one in. And if people can't, with any mind or social or religious background, can't see the falsehood, the obvious or determinable falsehoods or questionable things, sorry for you. I feel sorry for you, folks. Yeah. My brain's gone numb.
And with those final thoughts, I believe we really should just, go on to the farewells then. So I'll let you go ahead and say your farewell first.
Yes, I think we're actually, out of generosity, just automatically trying to be generous to the film. It's like, we're done. We're done. We're real done. I'm glad I got to watch it with a friend. It wasn't much to listen to. Not a lot of talk on the silent film. Anyway, I watched it with someone I could have an intelligent...
Never go into this film alone.
Yeah, no. Have a buddy with you. Have a buddy. Yes. Like, hold me. Stabilize me. Physically or just, electronically. Just know there's somebody there to take your hand and protect you. Yeah, no. Even if you want to watch an old film, what can I legitimately say? Okay, it was like a 3-hour film, so as you'd mentioned, there was certain cinematography first or or important things about the film, but it was still a shite film. It was a bad message, bad story. It was just a bad film. With the resources, a better film for society or art could have been made. There. I was as nice as I can be. I'm out of here. Anyway, it was fun to watch it with a friend. Fun. Trying to say fun with that. Watching Birth of a Nation. That doesn't sound. No, I couldn't.
It's like the one title card that said, "The Confederate Army comes to rescue." Like, those are just words that never should go together.
Yeah. No. Fun was not meant in any way. No. It's like, no. I mean, I had to go into that mode of I've got to actually make fun of this in my mind, or on certain things, and it didn't go unreasonable. I don't think anything I said was off the mark. It's like, this is a defense mechanism. This is bad. This is, yeah. But it's like with speeches that politicians put out. Throw away the garbage words or the garbage parts, and what is left? Is this a sensible, viable, or a sensible or an authentic film or speech? When you throw all the junk and lies in there, clear that out, and I'll see if you got a good message or not. Yeah. Well, it was a pleasure seeing it with a friend. It was a comfort. It was. Yes. I would not have watched it alone. I'd have bailed out a long time ago.
And, well, with Karl's farewell there, I really don't have any other words to say about this movie, so I guess it's time for me to just say, well, I thank you very much if you even bothered to stick around this long. About, at this rate, half of Birth of a Nation long of a video. It's a lot better time spent, I'd hope. But yes, I hope you enjoyed, ? And,
good night, Paul.
And take care, farewell, and these are 3 hours I will never get back in my life. Adios.
Fuck this fucking movie, it's all shite and a piece of trash. Fuck this fucking movie, made by dicks, so fuck them all.